Hello my dear students, once again welcome to your online class. So today we will be beginning a new chapter from a chemistry textbook, that is the chapter Electrolysis. Okay, so now coming to the meaning of the word itself, the word is electro, it comes from the word electrons. Okay, or basically we can call electricity also. Okay, and this lysis means it is separation. Okay, so the word electrolysis, it itself means that the separation of the compound when the electric current is passed through it. Now we already know that the electricity is due to the flow of electrons. So in electrolysis, we will be dealing with a compound that dissociates when the electric current is passed through it. So now coming to the compounds, so there are some classes of compound which conducts electricity in all the states. They are known as conductors. Okay, conductors are basically a good conductor. Okay, so the good conductor of electricities are the one that has the capability to conduct electron, or deeply if I say, that allows the electron to flow through it in all the states, solid, liquid or gas. And there are some classes of substances which do not allow electricity to pass in all the states, whether maybe in a liquid state or in an aqueous state or in a solid state. It does not allow. So they are known as insulators. So insulators are the one which does not allow the electric current to pass through it in any of the states. Now there are some classes of compound which allows electric current to flow in two states, that is in a molten state, that is a liquid state, or in an aqueous state, that is when it is mixed with water. But it does not allow the electric current to flow when it is in a solid state. So such substances are known as electrolytes. Okay, so what are the electrolytes? So electrolytes are the classes of compound that allows electric current to flow through it either in an aqueous state or in a molten state, but it does not allow the electric current to flow in a solid state. And the non-electrolyte is just the opposite of the electrolyte. So these are that classes of compound which does not allow electric current to flow in a solid state, in a liquid state or in a aqueous state, somewhat like the insulators, like sugar. So sugar does not allow the electric current to flow through it in all of the states, but whereas the example of electrolyte is a salt, that is a sodium chloride. So a solid sodium chloride, it does not allow electric current to flow, but when you mix this sodium chloride in a water, or if you take a molten state of a sodium chloride, it allows electric current to pass through them. So such electrolytes are known, such substances are known as electrolytes. So now coming to the electrolytes, so there are two kinds of electrolyte. One is known as a strong electrolyte and the other is the weak electrolyte. So the strong electrolytes are the one which completely dissociates into the ions, and the weak electrolytes are the one which partially dissociates. So what is a complete dissociation and a partial dissociation? Suppose if the sodium chloride is a strong electrolyte, and if I take 10 molecule of sodium chloride and I make a aqueous state, so what happens in an aqueous state, the 10 molecule of sodium chloride will give me a 10 sodium ion plus 10 chlorine ion. That means the 10 sodium ion will completely dissociate, leaving no molecules behind. But suppose if this same NaCl was a weak electrolyte, okay, so if I take a 10 molecule of sodium chloride, maybe only the 5 will dissociate and then the 5 will still remain as a molecule only. So these are known as a weak electrolyte. So the weak electrolyte only shows a partial dissociation, but whereas the strong electrolyte, it shows a complete dissociation. And also when you allow a current to pass through the strong electrolyte and let the bulb glow, the bulb will glow very brightly. And in case of a weak electrolyte, the bulb will glow dim. Okay. The strong electrolyte, it conducts more amount of electricity, but whereas the weak electrolyte, it will conduct the lesser amount of electricity. So that is the basic difference between a strong electrolyte and a weak electrolyte. Now coming to the important topic, that is the electrolysis now. So what is the electrolysis? The electrolysis is the process in which the electrolytes, or in which some of the compounds, it dissociates into the ions when the electric current is passed through it. So that process is known as electrolysis. So the decomposition or the dissociation of the compounds when electric current is passed through it is known as the process of electrolysis. So now this process of electrolysis is carried out in a special vessel, okay, so which is a poor conductor of electricity. So that vessel in which the process of electrolysis is carried out is known as a voltmeter. Okay, so and then in this voltmeter I take a liquid. This liquid is known as a electrolyte. Okay, so these are the some terms. So we'll learn about the few of the terms related to electrolysis. So the voltmeter is a device or a non-conducting vessel in which the process of electrolysis is carried out. Whatever is taken inside the voltmeter, that is known as the electrolyte. And now we need two metallic plates, okay, conductors, through which the current can enter and leave the electrolyte. So they are known as electrodes. So what are the electrodes? The electrodes are the metallic plates through which the current enters and leaves the electrolyte. So therefore the electrodes are of two kinds. Okay, so the one that is connected to the positive terminal is known as a cathode, or it's known as anode. So anode is the positive terminal and cathode is the negative terminal. Okay, so now if I take a battery, okay, positive and negative. So the one that is connected to the positive is known as a anode, and the one that is connected to the negative terminal of the battery forms the cathode. Okay, so there are two kinds of electrode. One is the cathode, the negative part is known as the negative plate is known as the cathode, but whereas the positive plate is known as the anode. Now when the current enters the electrolyte, what happens? Suppose if I have taken a sodium chloride there, NaCl. Okay, so the sodium chloride, as soon as you pass the current through the sodium chloride, it will break into the sodium ion and the chlorine ion. Okay, so we know that the positive ion is known as cation and the negative is known as a anion. So not to get confused between anion and cation. Okay, so now it breaks into the positive ion and a negative ion. So Na plus and then Cl minus, and we know that the opposite charges, they attract one another. So the positive ion, what will happen? It will migrate towards the negative electrode, and the negative ion will migrate towards the positive electrode. That means the cation will migrate towards the cathode and the anion will migrate towards the anode. So it's very easy to remember. A will go towards A and the C will go towards the C. Okay, so these all are the basic of the process of the chapter electrolysis. The electrolyte, the cathode, anode, cation, anion, and the which ion migrates towards which electrode during the process of electrolysis. So it's very important for you to remember all of these points. Now coming to the another topic, the oxidation and the reduction. So basically we already know that the oxidation is the process in which the oxygen is added. So oxidation means it is either the addition of oxygen or it's also the removal of hydrogen also. Now in terms of loss or gain of electron, so the oxidation is the process in which the given atom, it loses an electron. Like all the metals, it undergo the process of oxidation. That means a sodium, when it loses one electron and it becomes a cation, Na+. So this process is also known as the oxidation. So the oxidation is the process of losing of an electron. So similarly, if I come for a reduction, okay, so what is the reduction? Reduction is either the addition of hydrogen or the removal of oxygen, and in terms of loss or gain of an electron, like for a chlorine, it can gain one electron and then it can form Cl minus. Okay, so this process is also known as reduction. Okay, so the process of gaining an electron to become or negatively charged anion is known as a reduction. So in terms of loss or gain of electron, we can easily say the process in which the atom loses an electron is known as oxidation, and the process in which the atom gains an electron is known as reduction. Now as we see, the process of electrolysis can also be called as a redox reaction. It's because we have already seen that during the process of oxidation, what happens? The cation, it will go towards the cathode and then gain one electron. Okay, so that process is known as the gaining of the electron is a reduction. So at cathode the reduction takes place, but whereas at anode, so the negatively charged ion, okay, which is the axis of electron, it goes towards the anode and loses one electron. So there the oxidation takes place, and both of these occur at the same time. So that's why the process of electrolysis can also be called as a redox reaction. Now coming to the another important topic, that is the electrochemical series of a cation, and we have as well as for a anion. So what is the electrochemical series of cation and anion? So the electrochemical series of cation is the arrangement of the metals, okay, with the ease to form a positively charged ion. Like if we see, we have sodium at the top, and then potassium, and at the end of the series we have a platinum. And then during the process of electrolysis, what happens if there is more than, like in a electrolyte we have a platinum ion and then as well as a potassium ion. So these metals are arranged in such a way that as we go down the series, what happens? The chances of getting discharge at the cathode is maximum. So the metal at the bottom, it easily gets discharge at the cathode than the metal at the top. So similarly we have the electrochemical series of a anion as well. Okay, so in anion as well, as we go down the series, the probability or the chances of getting discharge of that anion will be maximum towards the anode. So it's very important for you to remember the electrochemical series of a cation and as well as anion, okay, so that we may be able to write down the chemical or the equations, okay, the equations that occurs at the cathode and as well as the anode also. Now coming to the selective discharge of an ion. So just now I said that if in an electrolyte, if there more than one kind of similar ions are present, that means like if there is a potassium and as well as a sodium ion as well. Okay, so out of this, remember, during the process of electrolysis only one of them can go towards the cathode. Okay, so what are the factors which will decide that which ion will go? So that is known as the selective discharge of ion. So the first factor is its position in the electrochemical series. Lower is the position of the given ion, the more chances of getting discharge. Apart from that, there are other factors like the concentration of the ion as well. So higher is the concentration of the ion, there is the greater chances of getting deposited at the cathode side. So that is what is meant by the selective discharge of the ion. So it depends upon the electrochemical series and as well as the concentration of the ion, and one more, it also depends upon the nature of the electrodes also. So now coming to the electrodes, so what does the nature of the electrode means? So the electrodes can either be an active electrode or a passive electrode. So the active electrodes are the one that participates in the process of electrolysis, but whereas the passive, which is also the inert, they are the one which does not participate in the process of electrolysis. So that's all for today's video. So in the next class we will be studying about the electrolysis of few of the compounds like water and for a sodium chloride. So in the reduced syllabus we have much lesser to study. So please once again go through the reduced syllabus. If you don't have, I'll provide you the reduced syllabus, and then whatever is there in the video, whatever I have taught, please see it once again, and then you also revise it through your book, so that during the next class it will be easier for you to understand the selective discharge of the ions in the different cases of electrolysis. Okay, so thank you, stay safe, stay happy and keep studying.